have no clue how some of these movies made money, but let's talk about them. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing a tier list of the top 15 highest grossing films of 2023. Now, obviously, there are still some big hitters to come out like Wonka and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. By the time they make their money, it'll already be 2024, so we're just gonna have to roll with these. And before I get into this tier list, be sure to hit that like button, comment down below your ranking of these movies, subscribe and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot, as I'm trying to make that final push near the end of the year. And go show some love to the Unusual Couple podcast for weekly episodes of myself and my girlfriend Cam. We have a blast with it over there. But let's go ahead and dive into this tier list. Alright, so I have the traditional tiers: S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, F tier. I used to have E, but I never really put anything in there, so I was like, screw it, we're cutting the E tier out. Top 15 highest grossing films in no particular order. Starting off, we've got Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, what's interesting about this list, before I even go any further, is that not every single one of these movies made their money back. These are just the highest grossing films. A lot of these were considered flops, surprisingly. Dead Reckoning Part 1 being one of them because it had a huge budget. To me, this is not the strongest the Mission Impossible franchise has to offer, but it is a damn good film. I'm putting it in A tier. I've seen it twice. It's got everything you want in the Mission Impossible films. You know, the trickeration, the spy antics, the over-the-top insane action and stunts with Tom Cruise fully committing to the role of Ethan Hunt. What's not to love? I don't think it's as strong as Fallout, but not many movies are. That's like a premier action film ever. I also prefer Rogue Nation, but it's like on par with Ghost Protocol for me. An elite action film and an elite action franchise. Moving on, we've got Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Whew! This movie's a stinker. In fact, it's going in F tier. This movie is so stupid. There's no other way to say it. Within the first 5 minutes, it becomes this run-of-the-mill generic, I am the villain and I am going to take over the planet and blah 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 blah. It's just so uninteresting from the jump. The human characters are bland. I mean, they're as stale as a 3-month-old box of Cheez-Its or something. And then on top of that, the third act gets ridiculous. There's not really any pizzazz or pop to this movie like the Michael Bay films, whether that be the script or even the visual effects or the color grading. Like, this movie is just so bland. There's no getting around it. It is super forgettable. Moving on, we've got Elemental. This is a Pixar film that actually ended up having long legs at the box office. It started out pretty weak, but word of mouth, and I guess more families went to go see this thing, and it just steadily made its money. I'm gonna put it right in the middle in C tier. It's fine. You know, I don't think this movie does anything new for Pixar. It's by far not one of their best films. It's just a simple story we've seen before. It's fairly predictable. The animation's great. I mean, we've come to expect that with Pixar. It's got a really simple and almost uninteresting plot. It's just not very memorable when I look at other Pixar films. They haven't had one fully captivate me in a while. I'm really got my fingers crossed for Inside Out 2, but it's not a bad movie. It's a C tier movie. It's just whatever, you know? It's out there. Next, we've got The Little Mermaid live-action remake. I go back and forth, but this is almost stronger than the original at times. It fully fleshes out Prince Eric and Ariel's relationship. It makes it feel real, whereas in the animated film, it's kind of artificial. This one feels earned. The song Wild Uncharted Waters is a banger, and really just, I appreciate how this film gave so much more depth to Prince Eric, and honestly, Ariel. Even the side characters like Ursula, the main villain, or King Triton, their motivations are more understood and they feel like actual characters, whereas in the animated films at times they're just there to move the plot forward. They actually have emotions that are displayed here, and I thought this movie was really delightful. I'm gonna put it at the top of B tier right now. It's a 4 out of 5 strong, solid film for me. On some days, I actually think it is better than that original animated film, and it's one of the stronger Disney live-action remakes to me. Next, we've got John Wick Chapter 4. Ooh, you already know. It's going in S tier. This is one of the strongest films of the year, and what a way to end the John Wick series, if that is the end, of Keanu Reeves playing the role. This is non-stop action from the jump, but where it succeeds as compared to some of the other John Wick films is it humanizes John Wick the most, gives us the most depth to his character, and really makes us feel for even side characters. Donnie Yen's character plays a big role here, and the villain as well in the film, played by Bill Skarsgård, is menacing from the moment he comes on screen. So this movie feels most personal to John Wick as a character, and because we've witnessed his journey over 3 films, there's a lot of payoff here. It's earned, and I really do think this is the strongest John Wick film. The final hour and a half just blew my mind. Stunt after stunt, I was like, I have no clue how they pulled this off. It truly is a feat, and one of the greatest action films I've ever seen. It's been a great year for action with Mission Impossible and John Wick, so yeah, this movie rules. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. But moving on, we've got the box office smash hit Barbie. This is actually the highest grossing film of 2023. I respect it. It's funny at times. I think Ryan Gosling's great, Margot Robbie is great. It's just not a very rewatchable movie to me. I think the plot just gets a little too repetitive at times, and interest started to wane near the end, but it does have its strong moments. reference. I'm Just Ken is a banger. I'll put it behind Little Mermaid in B tier, B for Barbie, but it's anywhere from the B to C range depending on the day. Next we've got Oppenheimer. This is the movie of the year. I'm putting it at the top of S tier right now. In fact, I rewatched it last night actually. I finally got the 4K. And it looks stunning. It's one of the best physical discs I've ever owned in terms of quality. God almighty, it blew me away. The movie did too. It's one of the best films I've ever seen. I said this in my Letterboxd review on my third round. I was like, this could quite possibly go down as a top 10 all-time movie for me as the years go by. History was always my favorite subject growing up, and Christopher Nolan is one of the greatest directors of our time. Plus, it's got an ensemble cast who all brings their A game, and this movie is just fascinating to me. There's no other way around it. It's a deep dive into J. Robert Oppenheimer and the ups and downs of the man's life, the triumphs and tragedies, if you will, as it says, you know, in the American Prometheus book on the cover. And I sat here watching the special features for about an hour and a half last night, blown away by the behind-the-scenes work and how Nolan wanted to do a lot of things in camera, meaning they used a lot of practical effects to create what Oppenheimer was seeing, his visions. There's a scene in the film where Oppenheimer's laying in bed and looking off and he sees what looks like some atom spinning. That's real. That's not CGI. Christopher Nolan is actually standing there with this like glow thing, spinning it right next to the camera. All of those shots that just look like atoms or explosions. There was a special IMAX lens actually made to capture this, and one of them is just marbles spinning around high speed. The attention to detail that went into making this film as practical as possible, outstanding. I could spend hours watching those special features. I'm not done with them yet, but one of the best 4K releases I've ever owned. And yeah, it's just so cool and neat to go behind the scenes of the making of this film. It's an achievement. Moving on, we've got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, a film that I've been more forgiving of than others. A lot of people absolutely trash this thing. I think it's fine, you know. I enjoyed my time with it. I thought Kang was a great villain. Scott and Cassie had a sweet relationship. Is it a movie I've thought about much? No. I watched it in February once, and I haven't seen it since then, so I doubt I'll watch it by February. That's a whole year of me not wanting to go back and revisit it. Is that a sign? Probably. But the movie is fun enough. I can't go too high with it. I'd probably say right now, I'll go top of C tier over Elemental. It doesn't feel right with those other Beecher movies. Like, maybe I was just in a really good mood the day I watched it, but the fact that I haven't had a desire to go back and watch this scares me. I think that if I do, I'll like it a lot less than when I originally did. So I'll have to give this one a go again sometime soon and see if it holds up for me. Anyway, next we've got The Meg 2: The Trench. I haven't seen this movie, so by default I'm putting it in F tier. I heard it was awful anyway, but it's just going to sit there because I haven't seen the movie. Moving on, we got Fast X, which is actually going in F tier. I hated this movie. It's going to go right here, because I think I'd watch it over Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. What a ridiculous, stupid movie. The Fast and Furious franchise sort of built itself on that at a certain point, but at least it was still based in reality. In the ninth film, they went to space. In this film, it just gets so ridiculous, and it's trying to take itself so seriously. That's the issue. I can't believe the movie ended when it did. It felt incomplete. This franchise lost all life for me a while back, and I think I'm done. I'm waving the white flag. I probably won't see any more Fast films, which is fine by me. Next, we got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is going in the middle of S tier. What a picture. What a way to send off this Guardians family, and an unconventional family that we all fell in love with over the course of the MCU, and James Gunn got to have his final run with these characters. It's got a great soundtrack, moments that make me laugh, moments that make me cry, moments that make me pump my fist in the air. Guardians 3 rules, and it's a top-tier MCU movie. Like, we're talking top 5, top 6, top 7. Depends on the day, but it's easily in the top 10, and easily in the top 10 films of 2023. Next, we've got Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I wanted to love this movie. Indiana Jones is my favorite movie character of all time. And the more I sit with it, the more I think on it, the more I'm disappointed by this movie. It sucks to say. It really, really hurts me. I think I still have to go top of C tier, as disappointing as the movie was. Like, there's enjoyment to be had. Something about seeing Harrison Ford in the role is captivating enough, and he's a childhood hero for me. I mean, he is my favorite movie character ever. I watched the documentary thing they put out on Disney Plus the other day, and I was just getting emotional. Like, man, I love this guy, and I love this character. Seeing this movie twice now, I just can't forgive the third act and how ridiculous the movie gets. And the one gripe I can't look past is the fact that at the end of Crystal Skull, compared to the end of Dial, the character's pretty much in the same spot. He's just a little bit older. Did it feel necessary? No. I think it was completely unnecessary. If anything, they should have done a sort of fill-in-the-gap movie, like an adventure after Last Crusade, or after, you know, Raiders before Last Crusade. Just another adventure where he's de-aged. That would have worked better for me, because that feels more like Indiana Jones than whatever this was. Next, we got FNAF. I won't go outright F tier, even though it is bad. I'll put it in D tier just because Josh Hutcherson and Matthew Litt are trying, and I think there's some cool songs, but the movie's not good. I do think it's more watchable than what I have in F tier, though, which is why it's in D. Still a failing grade, but Matthew Lillard, the memes from that movie, that's what has it here, because this movie was repetitive from the jump. I'm gonna have this dream, let's work the night shift, then I'm gonna have this dream, then let's work the night shift, and then it all concluded with a pretty anticlimactic finale, so D tier, and that's being kind to it. Next we got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I'll go top of A tier with it. Absolutely love this movie, but it's not a 5 out of 5 for me, and those top 3 are 5 out of 5s. This movie is visually stunning. The animation and the behind the scenes work that went into it blows my mind. Obviously, we have a cliffhanger ending, but we're getting a part 2, Beyond the Spider-Verse, one day. We've never really had a bad Spider-Man movie, so I do have like 4 films above it in the Spider-Man world, but Across the Spider-Verse, web-slinging fun, one of the best films of the year, and trippy as hell in a good way. And the last movie on this list is the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I am putting this in D tier, probably right there. It's super forgettable and feels like just non-stop product placement for Nintendo. Like, just feels like a corporate product as opposed to an actual compelling film. I played Mario Kart growing up, I had fun with it. Not a fan of this movie. I'll never watch it again. Movie just didn't do it for me. Peaches was a time, though. I remember when that song was trending all over TikTok, but the movie, man, I forgot pretty much entirely about the whole thing already, which is not a good sign. But that's my tier list ranking of the top 15 highest grossing films of 2023. Let me know your placement of these films in the comments down below, and be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot. And go show some love to the Unusual Couple podcast for weekly episodes. We have a ton of fun with it over there. But that's going to do it. Thank you guys as always, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.